Nicole Reyhle coming to you from ASD Market Week, and joining me today I have consumer anthropologist of Kizer and Bender speaking, Georganne Bender and Rich Kizer. Welcome.
Thanks, you.
Nicole. Glad to be here.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
You guys are consumer anthropologists, and when it comes to retail, you know that in-store experience is so important. How can retailers strengthen that?
Oh, where do you want to start?
Well, it's understanding, consumer anthropologists, why would you be involved in store layout? It's because we understand what the consumer does when they walk in and what their expectations are. And that's critically important. So it's not a matter of just laying fixtures and putting merchandise on a shelf. It's about appeal to the eye and the emotion that's created by great presentation.
Yeah, there's a saying, it used to be improve the product, and the product is still important, but now it's about improving the customer experience. And so we are professional store planners. We don't just play at merchandising, we understand why you set a floor a certain way and how you move people through the floor, how you create and control their experience. So that's what we bring to retailers. We take them from the front door to the back door and every space in between.
So important. And when it comes to capturing that customer attention once they're in the store, what can you tell us about some of your best tips on how to do that?
Well, the critical level is the eye. And number one, we know the customers will walk in and basically turn to the right. Most people will, or at least look to the right. That's golden property. And the presentation that we give at that point is critically important to create that first impression, which will be an lasting impression unless we do something later on to literally destroy it. But the focus of their eyeball as they walk in to know that they've made a good decision right away.
Yeah, there are three really key segments on your sales floor, and we call them lakefront property. When you walk in the front door of the store, whatever you see straight ahead, we call that the vista. That's the single most important selling area of the floor. The second is the right, because as Rich said, 90% of people look or turn to the right. The third is the left side of the store. So when we do store remodelings or store makeovers, we make sure that those three areas are set absolutely correctly. We don't recommend that you put your checkout counter at the front right of the store because you don't want people immediately thinking about checking out when they get in. We did a piece for MSNBC, and in that piece we took a gift store in Geneva, Illinois, and we changed just the front of the store, just their speed bump, which is the first fixture you see, the right side and the left side. She had a festival weekend, just those three little changes. She had a 44% increase.
Fantastic.
And she has stayed in double digits ever since using these techniques. And we have stories like that from lots of retailers because these three areas are critical.
The power of merchandising is clearly strong, absolutely.
Absolutely.
So when it comes to merchandising, and we're looking more specifically at that unique display, whether it is your lakefront property or your speed bump space, what can you tell us in terms of getting customers to pause and shop thanks to display?
Part of it is that you have to put the merchandise in an environment that starts to tell a story. Because unfortunately, we're not going to have people that make that story available to the customer. That being the case, it's the art of and the science of merchandising and how we lay out, what we lay out at certain points in the picture. In other words, we could go vertical, or we could be focused on a hot spot cross environment where we know where the eye will strike. But the most important thing is it's not just the bland. We're not in the
sell one item business.
Yeah, we're not in the sell one item business, or literally, what we want to do is we want to sell more items. And the case is we have to inter-merchandise whatever we merchandise in the store to tell that story. Looking at all of the same box and 4 feet of fixture is not going to romance anybody.
I would say, to answer your question, cross-merchandising is critically important. Rich mentioned vertical merchandising, and that's when you're merchandising product on shelving or on a gondola, instead of putting things horizontally, that makes no sense, because if the customer only looks at the middle shelf, they only see one assortment of product. If they do it vertically, they look up and down as well as forward. That increases eye level as buy level. It gets rid of that because they see everything. But I would say that cross-merchandising is important. So if any display that you have on your floor, whether it's a speed bump or whether it's a merchandise outpost, it's a table on the floor, show more than one product. Show a variety of products that can be used together, that can be worn together, that can be purchased together. Because tell a story, make it pretty, different levels. Why sell just one item when you could sell 2 or 3 or 7?
In essence, we're not in a commodity business.
Exactly.
We're in a story business that builds emotion.
Tell a story in your displays, And we always say that your main displays in your store, your speed bumps and the other ones that are near the front, you need to change those once a week whether they need it or not.
That's a great tip. Absolutely.
Yeah, you know what? It's not a living room where you can leave it sit for 4 weeks or 5 weeks at a time. That store's got to revolve. And the reason it's got to revolve is because if a customer comes in once and then twice and then 3 times and sees the same displays, they don't have the perception that the store's alive and doing some exciting things. It's the same old, same old. Well, very dangerous place.
It's a living, breathing entity. It's your living, breathing brand that you need to do something there. The other thing that goes along with that is that we hear from retailers all the time. So I changed all the things on my sales floor, and my employees walk in and go, "That's really cool stuff. When did we get it?" And we're thinking, how about a year ago? You know, we just changed it. I used to have a store on Michigan Avenue in Chicago, and I had commuters. So every day I would have people get off the train in the morning, come to my store, go to work, come back at lunch, go to work, go home. And I changed the speed bumps in the front of my store every day. They thought I had more merchandise than anybody in Chicago. And I didn't. I just moved things around, and that's critical.
And you know what? That's a separator. It's a separator from everybody else in the industry, and sometimes a separator entirely in a retail environment, no matter where that might be, because you're selling excitement, and you're selling, beauty, and you're selling story, and nothing can compete with that, especially if you keep that as a live entity, which means it's constantly in flux, constantly moving, constantly fun.
And I love what you guys often speak about, which is shoppertainment. Speaking of fun, what can you share when it comes to shoppertainment?
Okay, so shoppertainment is an intersection between shopping and entertainment. You know, it used to be, back in the 90s, back in the day, we would pile the kids in the station wagon or the minivan and we'd go to the mall, we'd shop, and that was our entertainment. So now we have people coming into stores and you can run a sale, and sales are important, but that's not shoppertainment. Shoppertainment is a kid's store tour, or you're doing Santa Claus, where your kid gets his picture taken with Santa Claus, your dog gets its picture taken with Santa Claus, or it's a holiday open house or a Halloween costume contest. You know, what's going to attract me to your store? What's going to be fun? What's going to make me want to go there? We're engaging and connecting with people, and that's what shoppertainment does.
It can really be a celebration of an opening into another season, into a brand new season where the store is finally set, they're ready to knock it out, and they notify every one of their customers, come on down, we'll have soft drinks, we'll have snacks, and we want to introduce you to some of the exciting new things that we're doing. So it doesn't have to be a promotion where we dress up in Halloween costumes, but it can be a promotion that's really centered around the lifeblood of the store, is why are we here and what are we selling in a very unique and new way. We're going to introduce all this again to you.
So we have collected shoppertainment events. We've been together for 28 years as business partners, and for 28 years we have run and tested shoppertainment events in all different kinds of independent retailer stores, and they're all available on our website if people want them. But you know what, you have to do more than just sell stuff. You have to, not improving the product, it's improving the experience.
Could not have said it any better, Georganne. So a final tip for merchandising, if you can. I know that customers are getting to the checkout counter, they've made a decision they want to purchase. What can retailers do to strengthen sales at that moment, point of sale? How is it that they can merchandise better in that space to increase their chance of selling more?
Well, first of all, depending on that space that's right around that counter. But we've seen like zip lines now, and they're selling a plethora of merchandise. Some makes sense, and some they don't even sell at all. Yeah, what is that?
You said zip line. That's where you go down, hanging from the zip queue.
Okay. But the point is that the sale never stops. And the most important person in the store for add-on selling is the person that's ringing a register. For example, if they see someone buying an item and there's another item that they probably could use to go along with that, to bring it up, to literally mention it and say, you know what, if you would be interested, I can get it. We've been in stores that literally have basic items in office stores where they've had basic items that they pull right out of the shelf because you forgot to pick the paper up. But I don't think that we should ever overlook the opportunity that is at the counter itself.
Oh, I don't either.
Yeah.
Cashiers should not be cashiers. They should be customer service specialists, and that should be a job that's elevated within the store because it's an important job. But if you want to know about merchandising, that's a key impulse area.
Absolutely.
And there should be items on the cash wrap. We're seeing stores like what you were talking about, Old Navy and Best Buy, where they have these queues where you walk through and you're surrounded by merchandise the entire time. Stores like Old Navy, they have impulse items up there that really have nothing to do with what they sell, but they make a lot of money on them because they're high margin and they go like popcorn.
But I'll tell you something that's critically important too, is when a customer finalizes that sale, before they leave, almost always they should have a reason to come back. And that should be something like a bounce back coupon, or it could be just an announcement of another event that's going to take place in 2 weeks. Well, we call them bag stuffers, but that's kind of an oxymoron because you don't put it in the bag, you literally hand it to the customer. I call that a 15-second radio commercial because they tell you what it is before they put it in your hand.
15 seconds one-on-one with a customer.
That's right.
When you have their attention. Well, that's fantastic advice, and I know merchandising is so important. Make sure you learn more from Kizer and Bender, who will be joining us in the March 2019 ASD Market Week experience, where they will be the MCs of Independent Retailer Conference, as well as deliver a retail academy for you to learn from on the Saturday prior to show opening. Thank you for joining us here at ASD Live.